Życie bez gruchy.
Jedyny życiowy podcast w Polsce dla geeków.
Przez ponad 30 lat Charlie pracował w wysokiej klasy środowisku sprzedażowym, budując zespoły sprzedaży i generując milionowe przychody. Zaczął swój 7-cyfrowy biznes z niczym więcej niż pukanie do drzwi i używanie smartfona. Zarobił sporo pieniędzy w takich sektorach jak marketing, software i budownictwo. Charlie Cina wierzy, że zdolność prezentacji i perswazji są obowiązkowymi życiowymi umiejętnościami, które każdy potrzebuje, aby odnieść sukces. Charlie sprzedał swoje usługi i projekty dla miliardowych firm, takich jak Wynn Resort, Palazzo Hotel, Mandarin Oriental, MGM Las Vegas. Również współpracował z takimi firmami jak Pepsi czy Discovery. Używając swojego niezawodnego systemu, pozwoliło mu to zdobyć takich klientów jak Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas i wielu innych. Więc słuchajcie, teraz przedstawię wam Charlie'ego po angielsku i przechodzimy na angielski. W takim razie, how to present on purpose. Charlie Cina, welcome on the podcast. How are you doing?
What's happening, Marcin? What's happening in Poland?
Poland is great. You know, we're hungry for success. We want to get some sales. We want to sharpen our skills. That's why we've got you here, and we want to present ourselves better. So I don't know what do you think about Poland? Like, you know, we met maybe like half a year ago or something like that for the first time.
6-8 months ago.
And what was your thought about Poland? You know, when I introduced myself, and I probably did it poorly until I got to know you.
Well, when I first met you, here's the bottom line. All these emerging countries around the world that are now embracing entrepreneurship and business, when I see, you know, young people like yourself, or, you know, people of all ages, men, women, you know, across the board, anybody that can see the vision of what entrepreneurship is all about, and they want to learn the skills necessary where they become in control of their own destiny, where they could jump into any vehicle, no matter what that is, whether you're selling clothing, whether you're selling software, whether you're selling pharmaceutical products, whether you're a gym owner or want to own a gym. The ability to be an entrepreneur is based on one thing, and that's the ability to connect with people. You have to learn sales skills. And when I say sales skills, Marcin, I'm talking about having the ability to present yourself. How do you present who you are, what you do, and what problems you help people solve? That's really the simple objective of sales. And when you can start to do that, you'll see your life and your business take off, and you'll recognize numerous opportunities out there just by building simple relationships that are right in front of you every day.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's like Brad Lee says, yeah? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. It all starts with that. But you know what? Lots of Polish people, because Polish people are mostly like the audience, as we discussed before, you know, we have problem with that. We have lots of complexes, you know, like, for example, there's lots of immigrants in let's say, in the UK or even like in the US, you know, but so lots of people feel this inferiority kind of, feeling that they're not good enough, you know, and then also they perceive, I think it all starts with their perception of what selling is all about and presenting. Like they were taught maybe, you know, stay quiet, you know, don't show off too much because that's not good. You know, you need to study, you should focus on studying, and you should get the best degrees, and you shouldn't speak too much. So that's like how I, you know, generalizing, because there are people that are making, you know, they're swinging left and right, but majority, and including myself, like, we need to focus on our skills.
Yeah, well, here's the bottom line. I believe that in today's day and age, a gentleman like you that obviously speaks multiple languages, including English, has the edge. So as crazy as this sounds, I believe that Marchin has a bigger edge than Charlie Cina does. Because although English is, the dominant language of the world, most Americans don't speak multiple languages. So that being said, to me, a gentleman like yourself, you have the edge. You speak Polish.
Correct.
You speak English. What other languages do you speak?
Spanish.
Spanish. Okay, I only speak English. That's really become a detriment to me.
But I wish I just spoke English.
Yeah, but it's not. You have the edge because you do speak English. So although your audience definitely should know how to speak English or learn how to speak English if they don't, once they do, they, in my opinion, have the edge. Now, if they can take those language skills and properly learn how to present themselves. What do I mean by that? How do you present yourself in a way that's unforgettable at the first point of contact when you meet somebody? Again, who are you? What do you do? What problems do you help people solve? So how do you present? How do you position yourself? How do you position yourself where you become the only logical choice in your space? Now, obviously, you have a software company. For those of your audience, I don't know if your audience knows that or not, but you have a software company, correct?
Correct.
And you help agency owners that do websites and digital marketing scale their companies.
Correct. And also companies like Lightspeed or Canon. So bigger companies that have marketing departments and they have some sort of web-based products, SaaS products.
Right. So your ability to position yourself in those spaces is huge. And then when you can present and position yourself, you can profit because you can acquire high-level clients. Now, how does that start? Well, you need to know how to introduce yourself. You need to know how to properly present and position who you are, what you do, what problems you help people solve. And then just through sheer conversations and building relationships, you'll start to have conversations with people that convert into business deals, into revenue relationships, as I like to call them. So it's not complicated, but the ability to sell, to market, and to promote yourself, first and foremost, is key. How do you shake a hand? Right? Well, maybe we can't shake hands in today's day and age, but how do you smile? How do you make eye contact in this crazy world of social distancing? And then how do you even present yourself online? That's all key. So it's about using the right words that trigger the right pictures, that triggers the right emotions, so you can get people to want what you have versus you having to convince people that you have what they need.
Mm-hmm. And how did it start for you? How did you started, honing on your skills and, did you were you born like, sort of, extrovert, always sort of presentable, talking to people? Where does it come from?
Yeah, well, growing up, obviously came from a family of four. My mom, my dad, my sister, younger sister. But, my parents always impacted me on, being courteous, being respectful, making eye contact with people, smiling, shaking hands, telling people your name, asking people their name. I mean, it's a very basic, function, but a lot of people don't do it, especially today. There's a lot of people, and I say this respectfully, but they're social misfits, right? They grew up on a computer. They're now we're online more than ever. So when you meet somebody in person, you feel like you don't fit in. You don't know how to interact with people, and that very simple life skill of knowing how to introduce yourself and asking people their names, right? becomes a talent that's really necessary. It becomes almost, again, a talent or a skill. So my parents always impacted me to, stick out your hand, shake hands, make eye contact. And at a young age, I started my sales career when I got my first paper route. I'm from a city called Buffalo that's in western New York, very cold, snow country, get a ton of snow up there. And as a young kid, I would drag my wagon through the snow delivering my papers on cold winter days. But I learned at an early age that the more doors that I knocked on, the more papers I could sell. And as I knocked on doors, some people would say yes, some people would say no, but I was looking for the yeses and not the nos. And if I got a yes, I went from delivering 30 papers a week to 31, and then 32, and then 50, and then 60. And at one point, I think I had 65 or 70 people that I delivered papers to every day.
Was it? So it was recurring, right?
Yeah, and I'd go every week, and I'd collect the money for the paper. So back then, this is, late 70s, early 80s, if the paper was, $1.50 a week, when I'd go to collect, they give me $2. Well, I was making a 50 cent tip. Well, on 60 people, you do the math, right? I'm picking up an extra $20-$30 a week in tips. And then Christmas would come, or a holiday would come, and they would give you some extra tips in an envelope saying, Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. So that really taught me the importance of the more you introduce, the more you produce. Right? The more you introduce, the more you produce. The more you reach out, shake somebody's hand, make eye contact, say hello, let them know who you are, what you do, what problems you help them solve, the more there's an opportunity for that particular individual to want what you have. Now you're acquiring a customer, right? We're in the customer acquisition business. We're all in that business.
Explain what does it mean, because I hear you say that very often.
So customer acquisition, if you're a gym owner, you need customers to sign up and walk into your gym. If you're a baker, you're in the customer acquisition business. People need to walk in and buy your bread or your cakes or your baked goods, right? If you're a doctor, you're in the customer or patient acquisition business, right? You need patients to walk through your door that want your products and or your services. So being a young kid and being in the newspaper business, I was in the distribution business. My job was to get the newspaper every day by 4:30 the latest in the afternoon to that person's front door or back door or whatever door that they directed me to deliver it on time, fresh, unwrinkled, made sure the paper wasn't wet, right? So they enjoyed getting their news, right? That was the newspapers were big back then. Today, obviously, newspapers are almost irrelevant. But my point is, that's the business I was in. So it taught me a lot. It taught me that I could knock on a door and someone would tell me no. It taught me that I could knock on a door and I could see the person was in the house, they wouldn't answer, right? So I learned early how to deal with rejection. And rejection's really not a big deal.
And that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal for Polish people. Polish people, I'll give you an example, Charlie. So I have a friend, and he was fresh, after he finished university. And he, started learning how to code websites, etc. And he reached out to one guy that was in Scotland, And he reached out to them. They had a sort of a hotel in Scotland, a very small hotel. And he reached out to them because they needed a website. And he wanted to help them, but the guy didn't, he wouldn't respond. So my friend, came to me after a few months and said, the guy never responded to me. So I just said, okay, he doesn't want my services. And then I told him about, the follow-up and that so I called the guy and I said to him, give me his number. I'm going to call him now. I called him, and long story short, he answered my phone and said, oh, you guys never followed up on me. I wanted the website then, and someone came and sold it to me. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Because the guy
Because
didn't respond.
Here's the bottom line. First of all, it's your job as the salesperson to follow up with the potential client. Right? They're your prospect. That's your job to follow up. Now, could they say no? They could. Great. If they said no, they just did you a favor. Now you get to move on to the next person and spend time with the next person that may have interest in your product or service. See, your job as a salesperson, and everyone should write this down, is to sort, sift, and separate. You want to go out to the world, find out who's a potential prospect. What's a prospect? Someone that you feel would have an interest in your product or service. Now, if they're not a prospect, that means they're a suspect, which means they don't have interest, they don't have the money, they don't need your service, right? You're trying to sell the guy dumbbells, and the guy doesn't own a gym or doesn't work out. So you're trying to sell him something that he doesn't have a need for. So when you're out there and prospecting, you're trying to find new customers, your job is to sort, sift, and separate. Are they a customer? If they are a customer, are they ready to buy? If they aren't ready to buy, how do you keep them in your funnel to follow up and follow through? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so targeting, yeah? You need to be selective. You can't just,
right.
you can't just shoot.
And you can't be afraid of the no. Sometimes when people say no, they're not saying N-O, they're saying no, K-N-O-W. They don't know enough about your product. Maybe the gentleman that you're referring to, right? You call them back, he bought from somebody else. Why? Because at the time, he didn't know enough about the product. At the time, he might not have known he really needed a new website. But that phone call from your friend could have triggered the thought where, although he didn't react immediately to your friend, he was thinking about it, and then somebody called him and he took action, which ultimately cost your friend a deal because he didn't follow up.
Yeah. And he thought the guy rejected him, because he was Polish, So I told him about follow-up, what it means. And I just realized then that, gosh, people are going out of universities and they're not being taught this very simple stuff, Hey, Charlie, they're being taught about biology, about how, about the cells, how, what's the construction of a cell. And they don't know how to, just follow up a guy, which is just weird to me.
Yeah, here's what's important. Nothing in business happens until a product or service is sold. Nothing in business happens anywhere in the world until a product or service is sold. So if you can develop the life skills to present and persuade someone that they need your product and or your service, you become a very highly sought after individual to numerous companies throughout the world that are always looking for high-level salespeople. Every business on the planet is always looking for somebody that can help them sell, promote, and market their products and services. So these life skills are essential, and you should just live with the mindset, if you want to enter into sales, forget about the rejection, right? Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Some people will buy, some people won't. Some people will be interested, some people won't. I don't go into a deal looking for the dirt, right? I go in looking for the gold. But sometimes you just have to dig through a lot of dirt to find the gold. But as you develop your skills, as you develop your word tracks, as you develop your confidence level, as you learn more about your products and services and how they could benefit the people that you're talking to, then you'll dig through the dirt faster and you'll find the gold faster. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. Dan Pena refers to that as kissing frogs. To kiss a lot of frogs.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to kiss a lot of frogs, especially in today's market. I mean, even with where I'm positioned right now, I'm still out there selling on a regular basis. And I just told my wife this morning, I said, I'm going to have to make more phone calls in this market quicker and be more effective so I can sort, sift, and separate prospects from suspects in order to find that deal. So, 6 months ago, you might have talked to 10 people and got 3 customers. Now you might talk to 10 people and you'll be lucky to get 1 customer. Maybe you got to talk to 20 people to get 1 customer. So you just have to keep going. You have to move. You have to present and position yourself so you profit long term. And when you can learn the art of human connection and have confidence in yourself and know what to say, you'll start to have conversations that ultimately convert into business deals, into sales.
Mm-hmm. Should people be shy of, I don't know, their accents or of where they come from, and because lots of people here, they're gonna listen to you, and most of the time, like, they can obviously apply that in their native country here in Poland, but I tell them, if you wanna make some money, you need to leave Poland. That's our advice on this podcast.
I personally, for me, anybody that approaches me that I know is, not from the United States, right? They have an accent, but they have that entrepreneurial spirit. I am more apt to listen to that particular individual than to, an American.
So
why do I say that? Because I know they're hungry.
Yeah.
Right? I know they've educated themselves. I know they've elevated themselves just to the point of allowing them to pick up that phone to try to set an appointment with me.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I personally respect anybody that, immigrates to the United States, that learns the language, that has the entrepreneurial spirit, that wants to learn how to sell, market, and promote their products and services. I think those people are more hungry than the average American, and know that they're willing to work hard. Therefore, I'm willing to give them my attention.
Mm-hmm. Look at, like, it's incredible how you actually frame that. And now, my mind goes, I can go to anyone, because you probably represent most of the, high earners in the US. Would that be correct?
Well, I represent a lot of top speakers and trainers. So I've done, business with Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Eric Thomas and a lot of reality show stars here in the United States. And I've worked with a lot of big companies and corporations. So, fortunately, I've had a good career and have some great high-level clients. And that being said, it's, everything boils down to educating yourself so you can elevate yourself. So if you start educating yourself, if you know what you want to do and you start educating yourself, then through the sheer process of educating yourself, you're going to elevate yourself. As you start elevating yourself, you will start to dominate your space. You'll start to sell more deals. You'll start to build relationships. People will start giving you referrals. And then before you know it, you have all this momentum going on and you're starting to have a certain level of success. Well, now you can start educating other people, right? Friends, employees, associates, right? Now you're educating them. They're elevating themselves. Now they're starting to dominate their space. And before you know it, now you might even be starting your own business. You might have your own sales team. So I, always live by the mantra, crawl, walk, run. When we're born, we crawl. Well, how long did you crawl when you were a kid?
I don't know, maybe like a year or something.
Right? Year, 6 months, year. Then you start to walk, right? And then you learn how to run. Did you ever try to catch a 2-year-old that figured out how to run?
No,
It's almost impossible,
it's impossible. Yeah.
right? They're fast little suckers. They're just all over the board. So you need to crawl, walk, run. You need to educate yourself so you could elevate yourself, and then all of a sudden you'll just start dominating your space, and you'll start progressing by inches, and then all of a sudden you'll start to take some quantum leaps, and you'll have all of this activity that's behind you and in front of you, and you'll go, where did it come from? So it's just about making the commitment, getting started, and learning the basic skills of the art of the introduction, learning how to present yourself, your offer, and your ability to connect with the right clientele.
Mm-hmm. So there's a process, basically. I think that's what you're trying to say as well. You know.
Absolutely.
So you start from A, and then you go to the next points. So if you could talk a bit about the process, the sales process. You know, it all starts with introduction. That's something. Actually, the title of this podcast is How to Present on Purpose.
Right. So for example, one of the biggest questions in life and in business, when you meet somebody, what's one of the most common questions? If we just met and I said, "Hi, my name's Charlie. What's your name?" You said, "My name's Marcin." What would one of the first questions you would ask me?
What do you do?
What do you do? Okay, a universal question, whether you're from Poland, Greece, Hungary, China, doesn't matter, right? What do you do? Why do people ask that question? Because people want to know what you do. How do you make your money, right? So that question is usually a question that is not properly answered by 95% of the people on the planet. So usually if someone says, "What do you do?" they might say, "I own a gym." In your case, what do you do? I build websites. Well, that's not really what you do, but I guarantee you that there's people on your team that answer the question like that.
I just came back from the dentist, and the dentist asked me, "Hey, so what do you do?" And I said to her, "You know, I program applications, and we do like websites, etc., software." So wrong.
Yeah. Right. So it's incorrect. It's not appealing. It's not sexy. It doesn't pique people's interest. So if someone comes up to me and they say, "What do you do?" I say something to the effect of, I empower business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals to shorten their sales cycle and increase revenue guaranteed through my 3-step process.
And it gets my attention then.
Right. What do you do? I empower business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals to shorten their sales cycle and increase revenue guaranteed through my simple 3-step process. Well, then what would you say back to me?
Well, how do you do it?
Well, I teach you how to present and position so you profit, March. And I teach you how to present yourself in a way that's unforgettable at the first point of contact. Position yourself where you become the only logical choice so you dominate your space. Then I teach you how to profit by acquiring high-level clients. And then I teach you how to nurture those clients to get repeat and referral business, potentially building revenue relationships for life.
Wow, that's awesome. So people need to practice that? Like, do they need to write it down and automate that? Is it kind of like, I train box, and then I recently kind of came back to it, and now I'm doing that more seriously. And then the trainer teaches me, the moves, like very, beginner moves. And I need to automate every single one, the punch.
Right, same thing. So if I got done telling you that, I empower people too, right? And I can do it in 3 easy steps, and I tell you the 3 easy steps, you're going to come back to me and say one of two things. Can I learn more?
Mm-hmm.
Great, I've piqued your interest. Now I set up an appointment with you to present my products and services.
Yeah.
Or you're going to say, "That's nice. I didn't pique your interest, and now I know you're a suspect and not a prospect. Why do I want to waste time speaking with you if you have no interest, so you can't use my product or service.
Maybe they can refer you to someone that they know.
Bingo. So that's where it starts. So like yourself, what you should say when people say, what do? You should say, I empower business owners to have an incredible digital presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and help them acquire high-level clients so they make more money.
Mm-hmm. So, but that's the formula, and then people can, fill it out with their stuff basically. But that's the drill.
That's
the script.
You're presenting on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a conversation. See, here's what I just did. I connected with you. Right? We connected on a level and we're having conversation.
Yeah.
I said words to you that are triggering pictures, that are triggering emotions in your brain.
Yeah.
Right? Where now you want what I have potentially.
Correct. And you tied it through.
That's key.
You tied it to revenue, because I said, oh, I'm doing websites or something like this. That doesn't even, okay, so what? But you tied it to money. I'll get you more money. I'll get you more this. I'll get you more that.
So I'm connecting with the prospect. I'm conveying my marketing message. And now I'm simply having a conversation that's going to convert. What's it going to convert into? An appointment, a Zoom meeting, right? Them asking me to come to their home to look at their insurance policies, or, look at changing their carpet, like depending on what business I'm in, right? It could be an in-home appointment to sell my product or service. So that's where it all starts. You have to have the ability to connect, convey, and have conversations with people. And when you start to have those conversations, you can take them down a productive road, educating them on who you are, what you do, how you can help them, and then they will ultimately want to buy your product or service, and you don't even have to convince them anymore. They will want what you have.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I have two last questions to you.
Sure.
I really value your time, so don't wanna take that too much of it from you. So question number one is, when I listen to your stuff on YouTube, your presentations, you did this drill where you actually demonstrate how you kind of introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Charlie, and then da-da-da-da-da-da. Could you sort of demonstrate that to people here? How they could introduce themselves, how that would start from like step, zero?
Well, again, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. So my name is
and what problem do you help people?
So let's take my example. So hi, my name is Marcin, and yours?
My name's Charlie Marcin. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Charlie. What do you do?
I'm a consultant.
Okay, what does it mean?
Boom. See what I'm saying? So when people give generic answers like I'm a consultant, or I'm a doctor, or I build websites, it doesn't trigger any pictures that triggers any type of emotions. People will dismiss you. You're not interesting. You're not telling them how you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said to you, what do you do? Well, I empower business owners like you, Marcin, to shorten your sales cycle and increase your client acquisition guaranteed through my simple 3-step process.
Yeah, that's sharp.
Right? What's your simple 3-step process? Well, again, I say present, position, and profit. I could also say I teach you how to connect, convey, and convert.
How to design, develop, and deliver. That's some good lessons.
Right. Boom. I teach you how to design, develop, and deliver.
Correct.
Right? I teach you how to design the right website. Mm-hmm. Right? I teach you how to develop the infrastructure, the wireframes.
Yeah.
right? Create your sales funnel so you can ultimately deliver those websites in 30 days or less, eliminating unnecessary revisions and getting your customers making money that much faster.
That's great.
Now, when you say that to somebody out of the gate, as a web designer or an agency owner, versus the competition that just told that same person I make websites, who do you think is going to get the deal?
Oh, definitely the guy that, that is sharper. But I think there's also like more factors, obviously, yeah, like chemistry, and this is like the very first step, and then.
Well, that's the first step. So what I teach people how to do is everything from, how do you dress
exactly
for one-on-one meetings, or even on a Zoom meeting, right? You still have to present yourself in a way that's unforgettable at the first point of contact, whether it's online or offline. How do you present yourself? What words do you use? What tools do you use? What softwares can you use for follow-up and follow-through? How do you stay top of mind, right? So to your point, your friend that called the guy and he thought he wasn't interested.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's a lot of different resources and tools and little, I don't want to call them strategies, right? I don't like the word tricks. They're not tricks. It's a strategy.
Okay.
Right? How do you send an email? How do you send a video email? There's a lot of things that I do and a lot of verbiage that I use that allows me to stay top of mind, right? Because sometimes people want what you have. It's just not the right time. They might need a day. They might need a week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They might need a month, but you have to stay top of mind. So that's what I take people through. How do you get the initial introduction? How do you present and position yourself so you profit? How do you take people then through your presentation of your product or service? And if they don't say yes on the first meeting, how do you potentially get the yes in the second meeting or the third meeting? How do you stay top of mind? And then how do you continually get attention from people, and how do you get repeat and referral business? That's all key.
So that's all the the sales process, basically. That's the lifeblood of any business, right? And that's what you teach individuals.
Yes, and what I really focus on teaching, really your audience is a perfect audience, because I want to teach people that don't know how to sell, or maybe they know they need to know how to sell, but they don't necessarily want to. Does that make sense? So they know they need to do it, but they're reluctant. So when I say sell, I don't want to teach you necessarily how to be a professional salesperson out of the gate. I want to teach you through the art of presentation. You're out in the world, you're shaking a hand, you have a business, right? You need to expose who you are and what you do, and then you need to close some deals. You need to make some sales, close some sales. So my objective is to teach your audience how to make sales easy. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't need to be a hard closer. You don't need to be a superstar salesperson. You really just need some basic skills to present and position yourself. And when you can do that, the profits, I assure you, will come, because you're building relationships. You're having conversations, and those conversations will convert
right
into deals.
That's awesome. What you just said is just blowing my mind, and I'm so I'm really pissed off at the same time. Let me tell you why. And actually, before I'll tell you why, let me ask you a question. Do they teach that at schools in the United States?
I don't think they teach at schools anywhere in the world. The answer is no, they don't.
Why is that? Why?
I don't know, my friend. I mean, they don't teach it. This is something that I've taught to my kids. Even when they were little, my daughter would say, "Oh, I only got a 99. I should have got 100." Well, then go ask your teacher for extra credit. Well, she won't give it to me. How do you know? You didn't ask.
Amen. If you don't ask, you fucking don't get.
Yeah, and she'd go back and she'd ask the teacher, and she'd convince the teacher that she studied, right? And that's a form of sales, but it's persuasion. So it's not a dirty word. As long as you're coming from a place of good intention to sell your product or service, or to be aggressive in selling your product and service, is not bad if you're coming from a place of good intention. So, if you had the cure for cancer and you knew that you had a client that if they took your product or bought your device, you could help heal them, you need to be certain. Well, sometimes you need to step up, be a little bit more aggressive, be a little bit more persistent, because that client is buying your certainty. They want to make sure that you're confident in what you're selling and you're offering. And if you're not, then why should they buy from you?
They sniff it.
Right. So as long as your product will deliver, I have no issue going back in and asking for a sale 3 or 4 or 5 times. Sometimes I've even had people hung up on me. Well, then at least I know I did everything I could to get them my product or service that could have potentially made all the difference in their life. Now, if you're selling something and you're taking that same approach and you're being aggressive, right, and you're making false claims, or it doesn't do what you say it's going to do, or you're trying to sell, somebody a round peg to go in a square hole, and you're being aggressive, well, now you're not coming from a place of good intention. Now you're not going to have longevity in your business. You're not going to get repeat and referral business, right? And that's when the whole stereotype of sales becomes bad for a lot of people.
Right. Thank you very much, Charlie. I have one last question. And have you ever experienced some sort of inferiority concept where you were selling to guys that are more popular than you, that have more money than you? Did you ever think that you're not good enough for them, or maybe that's a wrong frame? Maybe you need to, as you said, maybe you need to really believe in the product. Like, do you know what I mean?
Listen, we all doubt ourselves, right? This whole pandemic. If for me to tell your audience that when all this happened, doubt didn't cross my mind, I'd be a liar. We're all human beings. We have certain levels of doubt. We have certain fears. We have certain complexes or phobias or what have you. But here's the bottom line. You could visit it. That's it. You move forward. You get your head together. And the objective is to go out there and to get a win. Right? You need to get a win. What's a win? You make a call. Someone says they'll have an appointment with you. That's a win. Your certainty level goes up. You're excited. Now you prepare for that call. You make a good presentation. It leads to a second call. The guy says he's very interested, or the gal says she's very interested in your product. Then you make a sale.
Maybe she's interested in me. Who knows? Maybe I'll get laid.
There you go. Right? But then your certainty level goes up, right? Your ego gets fed. You're saying this works. You've got social proof.
Wow. That
what you're doing is working. And now again, you're educating, elevating, dominating. So it's step by step by step by step by step. Just this past month, same thing, right? I have not been setting the world on fire with the same amount of sales that I had a year ago. Well, obviously, we all know why. Now, I could sit here and use that excuse, but I started getting back on the phone. I was making more phone calls. Well, last month, I ended up putting on 3 new clients in the month of July, and then one of my clients yesterday called me back and just purchased another $8,000 worth of services and potentially wants to purchase another $50,000 worth of services.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
Activity breeds activity, but let me tell you, and I'm a seasoned sales professional, it's like anything else. When the baseball player is striking out and he doesn't get a hit, it works on your psyche. Right? When the guy's shooting free throws and he's not making them, he's a basketball player, or if a soccer player and he's not making scores, or he's not out there producing it at a high level, it works on your psyche. So you got to move forward, you've got to work on yourself, and you've got to get the win. Even if it's a small win, it helps you progress by inches.
Wow, brother, that's so powerful what you said. And That's incredible. Like small win, yeah? Just get it daily. And people think, you know, oh, I'm an amateur, you know, I'm not this guy, I'm not that girl yet. And then it's all about those small wins and then feeding the ego, you know, getting those wins, getting the confidence. And Charlie, so, you know, finishing and then closing off, I know you have your great platform where people, you know, that listen to you and they're as excited as I am. If they wanted to have you on the video, you know, in front of their eyes, training with you and, you know, sort of measuring their progress, I know there's a way to kind of have you on demand, yeah? Charlie on demand, where you teach them how to expose and close.
Yeah, absolutely. I've put together an online program called exposeandclose.com. There's about 4.5, maybe 5 hours worth of content, but I walk people through the very simple step-by-step program of how to present and position so they profit, how to make sales easy. I teach them some very simplistic methodologies, some very simple moves that will help them progress in their business, get those wins, and ultimately elevate themselves so they can go out there and start to dominate their space. So if you go to exposeandclose.com, it's normally a $397 program, Marcin, as you know, but for your audience, if they go to exposeandclose.com,
we need a great deal.
And they use the code SUCCESS97, that's SUCCESS97, SUCCESS 97. I'm essentially giving them the $397 program just for $97.
That's incredible. So that's like, so imagine if they pay for, I don't know, for someone to I don't know, try and teach them how to sell, or if they go and, you know, lots of Polish people, they watch I don't know, Netflix, etc., and instead of that, or going to Starbucks, instead of that, what if they invest into a program like that? And then normally you would need to pay $3,000. So guys, that's around 15,000 złotych, 14 może mniej. You guys have it for literally for nothing, and that's just because of our relationship that we have.
Well, you've helped me a lot, Marcin. You're a gentleman. I appreciate our relationship, and I appreciate you having me on. And if I can help your audience,
you're my mentor. You're my mentor. So I appreciate you having here.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Charlie, and I hope to have you here on the podcast again.
Would be my pleasure.
And then I'll see you in the US when they reopen the borders.
Sounds great, my friend. Get out there and expose and close.
Absolutely. Let's fucking go. Thank you very much. Take care.
Talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Życie bez gruchy. Jedyny życiowy podcast w Polsce stworzony dla geeków.